Guys, this is the Whizzkids question and answer. You ask the question, Martin and myself will be answering the questions. Say good evening, Martin.
Even
Okay, so I'm going to kick it off with questions from Arv Alderite. He's been on the page a long, long time, and he asks us, who is our all-time Football Manager starting 11? And I'm going to kick it off because some of mine is quite biased, I have to say, but others are legendary of the Football Manager game. So my goalkeeper is Tim Krul. Left back is David Santon. His centre half is a favourite of Martin's, I'm sure, is Dede. And of course the one that everybody knows, probably the new Dede, Eder Alvarez Balanta. At right back I've got Sim Versalgico of Sassuolo now. I've got Johan Cabai, probably my all-time favourite Newcastle centre midfielder. And I've got him with one of my all-time heroes, it's Gylfi Sigurdsson. And Milan Badelj at centre midfield, that's a three-man midfield. Just behind the
love that
strikers,
choice.
eh?
Love that choice. I forgot him myself,
Oh,
but he was fantastic.
12, he was unbelievable with the assists, the free kicks, everything.
It was while he
Uh,
was before he left. He left Dynamo. He was not the same player.
yeah, I mean he's kind of. So I've also went for Douglas Costa. I played him as a wide man on my Football Manager 2012 Newcastle save. I went for the king. I'm very surprised if you don't have him. It's Leandro Damiao, of course.
No, he was for a while. I did think he was my favourite striker, but I played this game a lot longer than you, and once to all the used like 10, 15 years ago, there was a lot I had to put ahead of him.
Yeah, and my final one is the final striker who, it doesn't matter which Football Manager I used him on, he was always fantastic. It's the one Billy Sharp. He's a machine at all levels. Maybe not so now, but 3-4 years ago he was incredible on the game. So that's my
He was,
11.
yeah, Billy Sharp was pretty decent for me in the lead save I did not so long ago. He kept on getting injured, but when he was score, but have you anything else to say on your 11?
No, no, that's my 11. So I'm sure we'll hear a much older 11 from you.
I thought there'd be a lot more older ones, but it's quite a mixed bag actually. I'll start with the goalkeeper. It's CSKA Moscow's Igor Akinfeev. He has been an absolute beast. He's nearly 30 now, but since he was 16 or 15 or 17 in Football Manager, he has always been a top goalkeeper, and he costs an absolute fortune as well, even now. So I haven't used him in about two versions of the game, but he has to be my all-time favourite keeper. It was a toss-up with Larry Carroll, who before he moved to Man United, when he was at Wigan, he probably was the best goalkeeper in the game back around the year 2000. My defence, I'm just going 4-4-2, picking players. Gareth Jellyman, the Welsh Roberto Carlos. If you bought the Football Manager Stole My Life book, page dedicated to him. Then my centre backs are Vidic, because I've managed Man United so often, and if anyone's used them, 9 in every single game. Then my other centre back is Stefan Strandberg. I like to think I had a hand in manager 13 and 14. He was absolutely super, just like Vidic. He never had a bad game. Right back, I was thinking time I could not think of who my favourite right back was, but I'm again Man United just going to go for Gary Neville, because from Championship Manager 3 1998 up until maybe Football Manager 2007 or 2008, he was an absolutely fantastic right back. Onto my midfielders, Wedrington, believe it or not, back again, Championship Manager 2001. He was literally like a ready-made Ryan Giggs replacement. He paid Peterborough maybe 300,000 for him, and he could literally step straight into the Man United team. On right midfield, it's another one from Peterborough, Simon Davis, who you'd remember from Everton and Spurs. He was again a ready-made replacement for David Beckham at Man United. He literally had identical stats to David Beckham once he developed properly in Football Managers. My central midfielders are one obvious one again, because as a Man United fan, I've managed Man United more than I've managed any other team. Would be Paul Scholes. I don't need to say much more. obviously he was a world-class player for about 10, 11 straight versions of the game. My other centre midfielder is probably around maybe people like Richard Duff and others might remember him. His name is Lee Fair. In Championship Manager 2000, I think he started at Coventry. He was 17 and he was an absolute beast defensive midfielder. And then on to my strikers. I'm sure everybody knows Saviola from Barcelona, Benfica, Real Madrid. He's played all over the place. When he was at River in Championship Manager 2000, he was rated pretty much the best striker in the game, and he was unreal. The goals he scored. But my all-timer, my very favourite Football Manager, Championship Manager player was a striker called Justin Gorsian, who started at Northampton in Championship Manager 2001. And he was an absolute beast. By the time he was 22, 23, he was the best player in the game and would score 50, 60 goals a season, nailed on. And in real life, just as his career was about to take off, he stabbed a cab driver and ended up in prison. Where his football career went in the end. Yeah, that's mine anyway.
It's a good mixed bag there with my more modern players and your older generation, and I'm sure a lot of the younger guys who listen back to this won't even have a clue who Justin Gosselin is, because I'm 25 and I didn't have a clue till you told me.
Google, read the sad story about him. It's actually unbelievable. He became a crack addict and everything, and he played for the England under 17s and under 19s in real life, and it was all going very well for him. He apparently just fell in with the people when he was younger, and it all went tits up for him.
Yeah, kind of reminds us like a few other footballers, and Nile Ranger to be one. Anyway, we'll move on to the next question. It comes in from Rob Thuslis Weiser. Which game was the first one you ever played? Now, I'll start with this. Mine was, of course, the game you don't like, Martin. It's LMA Manager in 1999, because I played that on the PlayStation 1, I think it was. And me and my friend, we used to sit down, we used to write down our formations, write down our team, write down our tactics, all day, every day, especially during the summer. And that was, of course, managing Newcastle on most occasions. And I remember my first ever signing, I think, was James Beattie. So what was your first experience of managing games, Martin?
The very first manager game I ever played was Premier 1995 on the Sega Mega Drive. Very long time. That game was brilliant because you did have the class of 92 just as they'd become real first players at Manchester United. Fantastic. You had Peter Schmeichel. I think I remember Denkamp was an absolute beast in that game. It was his first or second season at Arsenal, maybe. But and my first Sports Interactive game was Championship Manager 3, which was the 98-99 season.
Okay, good. I'm sure we've all played almost all Football Managers. I don't know if you actually played it, Martin, but the only Football Manager I've ever missed is Football Manager Live. Did you ever play that?
No, I didn't. You know yourself, I've never been one online.
Yeah, it's not really what the Whizzkids are all about. We leave that up to the European clan. They like to play. Okay, so the next one comes in from a well-known, of course, he has his own Facebook page. He's the owner of the FM Addicts. That's Luke. What is the longest amount of time in one session you've ever spent on Football Manager? So I'll let you answer that first.
I honestly don't know. My Football Manager is very rarely switched off. My laptop is only ever switched off maybe 4 hours a week. I have a laptop perched on the counter in my kitchen, and Football Manager is on pretty much 24 hours a day. So yeah, I've no idea. I've sat down and played it for like 10, 12 hours and stuff, but I couldn't give you a definite answer.
I think mine was probably about 7 years ago, 8 years ago, sitting in my Nan and Granda's room, well, the spare room, and I spent pretty much 16 hours almost solid, only moving for a toilet and food, and I never moved from the computer, and I played it all day, and just, those were the mental days before girlfriend, children and all that happened, and God, that was back in the early days. So we will move on to the next question. The first, which was, I'm sure, one that we can't really answer, I guess, but why don't any of you play as Bristol City? And my simple answer for that, Ian, is I just don't know. I don't really. They've never fancied my choice, and I don't support them, and I've got no connection to them, and I've just never fancied playing them. Why haven't you played as Bristol City, Martin?
I don't know. I a long time to pick lower league saves, and it's not like I do many of them. Championship or even League One, really,
Don't,
to
well,
be not league saves.
don't don't tell us about that save just yet, because I think that might come up in a further question.
Okay.
So, Ian's second question is much more that we can definitely answer. It's, do you use star ratings to assess a player? And I'm sure whichever answer will cover both from us. So I'll go, no, Ian, I don't use star rating. I just use it as a guide for my scout, really. And I use attributes pretty much. And I'll give you an example. Right now, I'm 10 season in on an experiment on Football Manager with the Class of 92. And I'm signing players that are literally wanting 100 grand a week, or I'm trying to sign players, and they're 2 stars, yet 10 seasons earlier, them regen players would be 5 stars, no problem. Anything to elaborate on that, Martin?
I'm actually easily distracted by seeing five lovely stars next to each other,
Ooh.
But at the same time, I do try and be smart and think with my head and really go deep into their stats and get a more detailed scouting report before I buy them. But no, yeah, well, I suppose when the star rankings first came in, it didn't matter what their stats looked like. If you saw 5 stars, you were signing them. But I've matured a bit over the last couple of years, and I do try and not just go by the stars. The stars can change as soon as you sign the player. It's strange. Even on your youth intake, you might see a player with 2, give them a contract, and as soon as they're actually like a proper full time youth team, they've got 4 or 5 stars. So it's open for debate what the stars actually mean and how you're getting or how the ratings are. So they're not the best way to judge a player. No.
Yeah, I agree. Okay, the next question is possibly the answer you were about to give a couple of minutes ago. Alex Hall asks, what is your best achievement on Football Manager? And I'll let you answer this first, because I believe that should, and if it's not, I'll be surprised what your answer is. Your best achievement on Football Manager?
Um, Best achievement. Yeah, it has to be my Barnett save, really, doesn't it? Because when you're putting your saves on the page all the time, people get bored of seeing you win. We're always giving me sticks saying, "Could you do it with a lower league team?" So just said, "Okay, I will do it." And I spent about 25 years at Barnet, and I absolutely cleaned house. I was in the Premiership within, I think, 7 seasons, and Champions League within 10. I absolutely killed it on that save, and I was. But to be honest, now I'd actually give it to my Newcastle save on FM12, or was it 13? I remember, but it was it was near the it was just after we started the page, I think. And yeah, it was live in one day, complete in season 3, hugely followed on the page, and I think it was just mainly the kind of the praise and the popularity of the save, the way it was received. I enjoyed that more than anything, I think.
Good, good. Before I give my answer, I'm going to give a quick mention to the other admins, of course. First, Andy, I think since he's been with us a couple of years on the page now, his best achievement has to be, for me, winning the Champions League as well as the Eredivisie with Feyenoord in first season, and a special mention to, I guess you could say, the ultimate Edvard. His saves are incredible. Small Spanish side, FC United, currently Socio, and he always takes them very, 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 very far. And what was the one he did last year? I can't remember.
It was wasn't it? What
Yeah,
Tromso? He did two. He Tromso and one with some team that was. I think the color of the team screen was yellow. I can't remember what the name of the team was. I think they were his hometown team, actually, weren't they?
yeah, Edvard's got some incredible saves. It doesn't matter if he gets knocked back for 10 seasons. we'll speak to him one day, then 2 days later he's 8 seasons ahead, and you just don't know where he's at.
Fucking snake, man. You don't, you don't see him for 2 weeks, or you don't see you do that on the page for about 3 months, and then he just pops up with the best save you're gonna see, like across the board on Facebook. You know,
Yeah.
first
Okay.
season, or the edge save a run for its money. You know.
So my best achievement, I'm not going to put it down to a save, but it was my 16 season Newcastle United save on FM12, which of course I was dominant on that, but I'm going to put it down to a player now. I believe I played a massive hand in making Adam Campbell quite famous on Football Manager, getting him racking up 70 goals a season, partnering Carlos Fierro up front in that save. But to get Adam Campbell the Player of the Year and the Ballon d'Or twice each in the space of 16 seasons or 15 seasons when he starts age 17 in the game, that is my ultimate
No, and it was quite an achievement. Adam Campbell was
achievement.
actually quite a hard. He was quite a hard player to develop.
Yeah, I mean, not being a Newcastle fan, that was kind of like a personal goal for me. Him and Remy Street, and Remy Street was also excellent in that save. But that is my best achievement.
And saves without Adam, and he's just the best striker. Come on,
Okay.
James, keep it rolling. Awkward silence
Yeah,
there.
I'm flowing. Okay. So, question in from Brad Taylor. I think we've already covered this. What is your first memory of a football management game? And of course, I said LMA Manager, and really the first memory was just having a notepad beside me, writing down all my tactics and formations and that to LMA Manager. And I spent all day on my PlayStation 1 because I don't even think I had a computer at the time. So I was just on that PlayStation 1 all the time in my little box room at home and playing that for many hours. That was my first memory of a football management game.
My first memory of sports interactive game. Yeah, it was. I think it was on Championship Manager 3. They made it to the semi-finals of the Champions League. Really young Shevchenko, absolutely tear up teams with him, and fire or a Championship Manager wanting to buy him and being absolutely crestfallen. He had already transferred to Milan in real life, and it was reflected in the game. I was devastated. I'll never forget that.
Alright, so Jamie Willis is asking, have you got a favourite regen you've ever used? Now, mine is the Russian striker that I signed for 25 million, and a season later I was turning down 60 million bids on Football Manager 2012, but like most people, I'm sure you can't really remember your regens names from that long ago, so
Can I guess his name?
go on.
Was it Gabul something? Gabalov?
Some
It started with G and ended in V. I know that.
Yeah, it's just he was unbelievable. He scored at least once a game, but there is not many regens I can imagine you could remember the name. Did you have any regens you had that you remember?
Do you remember his name was Nazuzi Mandanda?
Yeah, I remember.
He was a king striker. Him and Adam Campbell were getting, I think they were literally getting 100 goals a season between them. Unbelievable.
It's the second last question actually. It's from Jeremy Mail, and he's a Brighton fan. He's been on our page a long time, and he asks, which leagues do you load on Football Manager? Now, I load all leagues from England, Scotland, Holland, France, Italy, Spain, and Portugal. If I'm doing a lower league England save, I'll load a custom database, and occasionally Argentina and Brazil. That's the basic I load. I don't load anymore. If I had a brand new laptop, I would load a lot more, but that's good enough for me with the database that I use, our own one, to raise hundreds of reputations. What about you, Martin?
55 leagues from about 25 nations. Pretty much every nation worth I load. I start at loading the smaller Eastern European nations, and I don't load the MLS or Mexico or and then every decent European league down to say Croatia, Sweden, Denmark, stuff like that. But I you run the background, so it doesn't actually load that many players. I'd only have the top 6 leagues in Europe as like playable nations. You know.
Okay, the final question comes in from our good friend, the owner at the Sports Interactive affiliate, footballmanagercentral.com, so make sure you check that out. Paul is asking you and I, what made you start the Whizzkids? I'll let you take that away.
Yeah, well, no, I have to give myself names. It was initially my idea, but I only came to you and Steve. I thought you were so, we got on very well on the main page, and I thought, the three of us were on this page answering everybody's questions because nobody seemed to admin the page, and I said to myself, why are we doing all this on somebody else's page when we could have our own? So I made the page and I PM'd yourself and Steve and said, please come on board. We did, and the rest is history, basically.
Yeah, and there we are. Of course, we've had Anthony along the way. We've had Chris, of course, who we still speak to. He has come on board and he's gone, and of course Steve, who sadly passed away recently. And that is it.
We won't mention the other one.
Yeah. So that's
If
us.
you're listening.
So I think coming up in August, that'll be August, I think 11th. That'll be 4 years the WizKids been running. So all is still running smoothly. We're still enjoying the game. We're still bringing as much content as we can. So it's all running quite well at the moment. So that kind of wraps it up, really. If you listen back to this on my YouTube, of course, where it'll be, and check out our Facebook page, the Football Manager WizKids, and our Twitter at the FM WizKids. And of course, I'll give our friend Paul a good plug, footballmanagercentral.com, to get all your Football Manager needs. So that's pretty much it. I'll give a few questions there, covered from an older guy who's played the Championship Manager days and a more modern guy that's stuck to the Football Manager days. So what else do you need?
Can I just add one more thing in there?
Yeah, sure, go for it.
Can I just give a plug to you, James?
Right.
James has literally for the last 6 months, maybe more, been pretty much single-handedly running the page for a variety of reasons. A lot of them are just, well, I'm not going to go into that, but yeah, James has been doing an awful lot of work this last few months, and he doesn't really get the credit he deserves. You've been working. We really appreciate it, mate. We really do. So thank you very much.
Thanks very much for shouting, man. Alright, that's our wrap, guys, and we'll see you again soon.